Most people think that this was, their version of an anti-war song, but it really didn't have anything to do with that.
Right.
It there uh, the Buffalo Springfield, they were the house band at Whiskey A Go Go, which is on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood, and the crowds at the Whiskey started, and other places on the Strip were getting so large and sometimes loud. And so the neighbors and this, especially some of the other businesses, got ticked off, and because of all of the young people that were going to the clubs on the Strip, and causing a bunch of traffic congestion and loitering and all of that. So the residents and businesses went to the LA City Council to pass the ordinances on loitering, and they put a curfew on the Strip at 10 p.m. And then the protest started because it was the young people were saying this is an infringement on our civil rights, and so they had demonstrations, and a bunch of the rock stations had publicized it, and there was a place called Pandora's Box
Oh,
Club that was
yeah.
Sunset and Crescent Heights.
Yep.
Yeah, and so they gathered there, and I don't know, maybe 1,500 people altogether, as far as I recall. I don't know. It could have been more. It could have been less. But of course, there was trouble because the cops came in and were starting to manhandle people, which was what they did and what they still continue to do. Um, and they all came back the next night and were protesting again, and so eventually that changed, but that was why the song was written, because these are the guys that were there all the time and saw it all happening.
Uh, I was part of that. I used to go to the Whiskey all the time. And I was returning from the Whiskey one night, and I used to pass by Pandora's Box to get home. Well, you couldn't go anywhere near there because there was just uh, incredible crowds, and Cinder Boulevard was closed. And it was a big news item. It was a big
Yeah.
protest. And yes,
Yeah, I
people,
remember the news on it because I was too young to go to the Whiskey or any. I could go to the Roxy, but I wasn't allowed to go to the Whiskey
uh-huh.
and such. But being in the folk music circle, even while I was in high school, there were people were talking about it, and so we'd have these little phone calls back and forth to each other. Did you hear? Did you hear? And then the local news, of course, was exploiting it. But I also lived in Orange County, so I had to rely on my LA friends to tell me the truth.
Well, I didn't live too far from there, so I was right in the middle of that a period of that of activity. And yet everybody associates that song with Vietnam and with the
Yeah.
protests. And
Yeah,
of
I didn't know
course,
any of this other stuff. That's all new to me, and I thought I was living in LA at that time, but maybe I wasn't. What year would
well,
that have been?
that was about 1966, 1967, wasn't it?
Six,
Five, somewhere around there.
66, I
Yeah,
think.
I thought it was 66, just before Vietnam War started.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Hmm.
it was a generic protest song, and who knows? That song could be out there today.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
it is. You could have done it you could have sung it in Minnesota. Uh,
Mhm.
Exactly.
it's
I thought it started off with a great musical hit hook with that
oh, sure.
ding, ding.
Yeah.
That's,
Yes.
ooh,
Because
you
it
feel
had
like something's coming.
Yeah, it had that kind of ethereal something's gonna knock you over the head, and you're not gonna recognize what it is until we get there. And yeah,
Mhm.
it is a little bit of foreboding that this was not going to be a happy song.
Well, and the thing is, this is 2 minutes and 37 seconds. Look how powerful that song is. And that's basically Stephen Still's creation. And when we listen to Crosby, Stills, and Nash, you're going to see how that was one of the you'll see his contribution to their sound. Um,
And the thing is too is that you got to remember at that time there were people like Peter Fonda and Jack Nicholson, who were basic counterculture kind of celebrities.
uh-huh.
Even then, in fact, Peter Fonda was actually, I don't know if he was arrested, but I know he was handcuffed during the demonstrations because he was there, and I think Jack Nicholson might have also been there. I don't remember.
Well, and Jane Fonda, I'm sure, is part of that too.
I don't know that she was there, but I remember, Peter Fonda,
Sure.
showing him on the news with the handcuffs on. So,
But yeah, and that is so much a part. And we're going to go into, especially we get to Bob Dylan and we get to, there'll be additional protests. Protests, the second half of the 60s was really filled with protest songs. And we even listened to some in Motown, where Motown picked up the the message and tried to incorporate in their songs. And we heard Marvin Gaye, and even there was a Supreme song that had a political message as well.
wasn't that Love Child?
Yes, Love Child, absolutely. I thought the video was a little staged. It was a very artistic representative of poverty, you know. It wasn't the real deal. But nevertheless, you got to give him credit for trying to reach out and express what was going on in
A
society.
for effort. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Okay, so anything else about this particular song? It was definitely, if you did the top 5 songs of the 60s, this would be one of them.
I'd have to agree with you there. It's so succinct. It says everything it needs to say in a short amount of time, and it leaves you with that hook in your head.
And it's constructed so well.
Oh yeah.
Again, Stephen Stills has a very good sense of music and structure and riffs and all that. And we'll see that in Crosby, Stills, and Nash as well. Okay, so we got to go to the Nash now. Now, he's from England, so this is an English group. This is not have any of the depth of for what it's worth, but you'll see a lot of the roots of the Crosby, Stills, and Nash style, and it is also Beatlian. In fact, they even describe themselves as Beatly, and that's the Hollies, and this is Bus Stop.